Well, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Stand for this. Yeah. All right, Edie Benjamin, Kathy Macho. Here. Tom Graham. Here. Jamie Melky. And Wendy Reed. You have the forum. In the audience would like to comment at this time? Approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Edie Benjamin.
Yes.
Wendy Reed.
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Tom Graham. Motion carries.
Go on to discussion items A then. I guess that's you.
Yeah, I think we would need someone to open the public hearing, motion open, and then we can go into the public hearing.
I move to open the public hearing.
I'm second.
Edie Benjamin.
Yes.
Wendy Reed.
Yes.
Kathy Macho.
Yes.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Tom Graham.
Yes.
All right, so we'll begin the budget public hearing. I'll first start out with a brief presentation about the budget. Then we can take comments from the public. We can close the public hearing and then council to discuss next questions and propose any changes to the budget that we'll bring back to council next Monday. All right, so the 2026 budget. So our three main goals for budgeting at the city are as follows. One is to cover the cost of government services and operations. That's the main purpose of the general fund operating budget. The second is to maintain and replenish our fund balances to cover services and operations due to unexpected loss of revenue. So for example, if we have a year where taxes weren't what we thought they would be, or we didn't get grant money or state funding for something, we want to make sure we have enough money in the funds and our reserve balance to cover that. And finally, we also want to replenish our reserves for capital improvement projects. We set that up back in 2022 or 2023, and that's to cover necessary projects and some desirous projects for improvements to our buildings and infrastructure that's covered by the general fund. So those are our three main goals in order of creating a budget. In the 2026 budget, we try to budget and forecast conservatively. So we forecast higher expenses and lower revenue. Of course, each year that fluctuates what our budget will be based on revenue projections for license and permits, what tax cost of inflation will be, and whether or not we need to purchase more or less materials compared to last year. So our budget is a moving target based on us forecasting what the needs might be for the following year compared to what they were this year. Our operating expenses for 2026 are in line basically with last year's. With 2025's operating expenses. The major differences you see in our budget compared to previous years is the money being spent on capital projects. We have several of those across several funds, and that is where you see some of the deficits. In the general fund, we're anticipating about $300,000 more in revenue compared to 2025. And the major increase, the major reason for that is we're expecting to get about $400,000 in FEMA money for the ice storm response. We are allocating the revenue from the FEMA response in the general fund, even though some of that was spent in the electric fund, obviously, and other funds. We're also showing, you'll see as an expense in the police line item, $250,000 for mutual aid. Just gonna make it easier when we receive the money coming from FEMA, to show that it's the expenses are in the same fund as the revenues coming in. Just easier for accounting purposes. The decreases in money that we're expecting for 2026 is going to be for boardwalk donations based on this year's rate of donations. We just don't expect there'll be as many donations for the boardwalk in 2026. So we estimated pretty conservatively on having little revenue for donations. So you can see our revenue over the last 5 years. It's been increased. You see a couple of stagnant years in 23, 24, but it's generally been increasing over the years as it should be. These are the line items with significant changes. I'll go through them, each of them individually. Again, most of these changes compared to last year are related to capital projects. Some of them are related to retirement of the police officer Dr. Johnson, and the building major changes. So before I get that, here's a map of expenses for the general fund between 21 and 2026. So it kind of follows the same path as revenue. So it's important, not just the numbers, but to see that it's a very similar line. The way the line is going up, it's shaped very similarly. Revenues compared to expenses. So it's a good thing to see. All right, in City Hall, we are primarily seeing an estimated increase of $60,000 for this audio visual system. We don't know what that will cost. Kyle and I just met with Sunrise Electronics. We've been trying to get them in for a few weeks now to get additional vendor do a quote. They said it'll be probably sometime before Christmas before they can get us an actual estimates on paper. So that would be probably pushed off to January. It could be a lot less than $60,000. It could be more depending on the quality of the AV system you want to put in place. But we put $60,000 in there, assuming that that's what it would cost. Police department, you'll see the 2025 line item, the $230,000 for mutual aid. This ISO response, that mutual aid is from all the different regional entities that sent their electric crews. Again, as I mentioned, we put that in the police department line item just as easier for accounting, because we'll be having that $400,000 coming in from FEMA in the general fund too. And then the increase in 2026 proposed budget for the police department is all the payouts we need to have for the retiring officer Josh Johnson. That'll be probably sometime in April. So you'll see that across the board with payouts from health and etc. Brush and refuse pickup in 2025 was more than anticipated, again because of the ice storm response. Parking lots 2026 decrease from 2025 is that we're no longer paving that spot, that we did some temporary paving on patchwork in this South City Hall parking lot, so we won't be doing that this year. Beach operations, the $55,000, that's for the changes to the improvements to the building from plumbing, HVAC, new roof, and new doors. That's the $55,000 is our most accurate estimate that Parks Director got within the last couple of weeks. So that's going to be fairly on point as far as what it'll cost. It might fluctuate a few $1,000s, but that's what we have. So now, cool. Kiwanis Park is we anticipate doing that project in fall of 2026. That's $500,000. Again, we're showing that as an expense, although the donation money came in 2024, I believe. So we have that money in our capital reserves fund for that project from Tasco Harbor Community Foundation. And then Parks and Grounds, you see a large expenditure of $500,000. That's for the boardwalk, and that's assuming if council want to do the boardwalk, we put it under Parks and Grounds line item. I mean, that's a good fit for it, but that's what we put the Western Boardwalk under. But we're not showing any revenue coming in donations in 2026. So This was just there to show you what it would do to budget if the city were to pay for the vast majority of the boardwalk. Pretty substantial. I think we have a total of $70,000 or $80,000 in donations. So it's pledges, so it's most of it is pretty substantial. The Blackburn Museum, this one again, we just talked about this last meeting, $120,000 for the 2026 project, utilizing capital reserve funds. They said there's possibility to get some donations, et cetera, but we should anticipate paying that high end of $120,000. Other functions, this includes a lot of different functions that are just not categorized well in other areas in our budget, but the main difference is in 2026, we have $250,000 from the general fund to the waterfront fund for the harbor master building, the public bathrooms portion of that building. So, council still needs to make that decision on whether it's a loan or not to the waterfront fund, but for 2026 budgeting purposes, it really doesn't matter. It's going to the waterfront fund. So all that said, we are showing a deficit in general fund of about $760,000 for this year. And that again is for $500,000 for the boardwalk. You take that away, now you're at a deficit of $260,000. And that's for all the other capital projects that we have going on that we have earmarked and saved up over $1 million in our reserves fund for capital projects. So that was what that fund was meant for, was to start doing improvements to our general fund infrastructure. So the deficit you're seeing is not I just want to be clear, it's not an operational deficit. It's a planned capital projects. As you see, my recommendation there is to remove the boardwalk from this budget. But Nick, when I talked to him, he's like, he really wanted council to see what this does to our budget. So if we were to do it, and here's surpluses and deficits throughout the last 5-6 years. Again, that's 2026 with the boardwalk project at $760,000. Without it, you see it only at 260. So this is what it looks like. And as you see, 22 to 25, we've been saving up quite a bit of money for our reserves and our funds. Now, breaking down by line item, you can see really what the biggest most expenditures in our budget are. You see police and you see Parks and Rec. And again, Parks and Rec is because you have that $500,000 for Kiwanis, and you have $500,000 for the boardwalk. Without those two projects, you really only have a $500,000 expense for operational and other small things like the beach bathroom. So the real key highlight, though, is you see our capital projects are focused on parks buildings, boardwalk, Kiwanis Park, and then you see the police has about $1.3 million. Again, we do have a public safety millage, and we've established that the high percentage of police to our budget, the ratio is important for the community. And when the community passed that millage, this is what the information they had was between police and fire. They're about almost a third of our overall general fund budget. In the other funds, I won't go through them specifically here because most of the changes were through capital improvements projects, which you see in our CIP plan that we can talk about afterwards, that we actually talked about last meeting, and also the ISO response. There hasn't been any significant changes to services or operations or amenities in those funds. So again, like for example, electric fund, $8 million for the bond coming in, potentially for the substation and that 119 project. So those are capital projects that have been planned for several years. You can see expense by fund again. Electric, is if you add up all the money that the city has, $19-20 million plus to spend. Half of it's from the electric fund this year, and that's again because of that substation project. The general fund is about a fourth. Water, sewer, major streets. Sorry, water and sewer and waterfront are less substantial. Then you see local streets, major streets, fire, DDA, a relatively small percent of our overall budget. Again, here's a surplus deficit by fund. Electric, you're seeing such a high surplus. That's only because we're receiving the bond revenue, and so we're not seeing a surplus because we're making more money than on our electric rates. We're just that bond money is the reason for that surplus, because we're going to get that bond money in 2026, and then we might not necessarily spend all that money in 2026. We might spend some of it in 2027. So Finally, what, council's role is in budget making, the policy role, right? Is what services and amenities does council want to increase, maintain, reduce, or eliminate? That's the policy decision for the budget, right? What do you want to see more of, less of, or stay the same? And then same thing with projects. Which projects does council want to see this year, not see this year, push off to later, or reduce the scope of those projects? Again, that's a policy scope that council should consider. And then at the end, what kind of surplus deficit do you want to see? You take that advice usually from the city clerk and based on our accounting and for a healthy financial position. Some years it's okay to have deficits if they're planned projects, but other years you might see a trend of deficits and city staff will advise you that no, this is not going the right direction. So this year, I just again, believe it's for capital projects, so we're not worried about that. Then our role, once you as a council decide all those things, we'll figure out how to increase and make the services. We'll change up those projects or we'll eliminate those projects to meet your, your policy goals with the budget. And then we'll advise you on the financial risks and benefits of doing the way you want to do. So that's for that, and you have the whole budget. I recommend first, like I said, it's public hearing part, go to the public for comments. And for those that are joining us by Zoom, we'll go to the audience members in person first, and then you can raise your Zoom hand if you have any questions about the budget.
No, we've all observed all those facts. Any comments? Yes, Gary.
Hi, Aaron Goffrey.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Hi, Aaron Goffrey in Houston Road. You guys can hear me. Good to see you. Great trend data, by the way, for a finance guy. I love that stuff. So appreciate that. Thanks, Victor. A couple of questions. The contractual services under City Hall. Why do we bounce from 15K in 24 with 51K in 23 and then we go back to 27? Is that legal services or what is in contractual services at City Hall? Page 4.
Oh, that's our chiller. We have no heat and no air conditioning, and it took almost a year and a half to get it straightened out, and we still don't have it.
And hopefully we can go back to those guys.
Yes, we will, trust
All
me.
right, good. Thanks, Nick. That makes sense. Fire department, is the 26 number because we now are hiring a full-time person?
No,
No.
no,
We jumped from 20K to 80K,
Yeah.
right, we don't have that person.
but is that what the
Question.
budget is?
Yes.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing, and sorry if you hit on it, where was the recovery for FEMA in this?
So you'll
Phase
see the
one.
recovery as under revenue.
On the first page.
First page, you'll see a $400,000 under other federal grants.
Quarter of the way down.
Yeah, about a third of the way down. Number 528,
Got it.
sorry, 528.5.
That's the 400. Perfect. Great, thanks.
Anyone else at this time?
Come on.
You want the short meeting, do we?
And then this is also an opportunity if you want, PDA Director Becky, if you want to, the council had asked you to come and speak on, if you want to do that now during the public hearing or close the public hearing and have,
I think during the public hearing would be good. No,
yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. Okay, can everyone hear me? Who has a. And I don't want to bore you with a lot of details. I know you got this information in your packet, but you did ask me to come, so I'm willing to talk, whatever you, how long you would like to have me. I want to look at the budget while I talk about it. I did cover the highlights in the memo, but here's the budget that the DDA has approved for next year. And I'll go through it real quick. If I talk too fast, then slow me down, but it's sensitive to everyone's time. So in the revenue section, most of the things that are listed there are self-explanatory. The tip income, the special interest, special assessment and interest, all of those incomes are there. The Ice Festival is of note, it's different from previous years. This revenue amount is the amount projected to be collected in sponsorships. That's money paid for ice sculptures. The DDA did listen to merchants who had complained that the ice sculpture sponsorships were too high, and they did reduce them this year. This could potentially increase the number of participants, and it also could potentially increase the number or lower the dollar amount collected for them. Plans for the Ice Festival this year also include more activities happening outside of the park and on the streets this year, and some of these things may not be sponsored and require funding by the DDA. And you'll see when we get to the expenses section, how this balances out. Another one that is worth mentioning to you especially would be the lamp post contribution. This is being requested because the contractor price for painting the lamp posts will be going up. And it is the DDA's understanding that city council does own the lamp posts, and that could imply maintenance costs. The breakdown of this would be that the DDA would pay $15,000 for this painting project, and also the paint, which is about $5,000. And then the general fund would contribute $15,000. And keeping in mind that the DDA did pay $7,000 last year on a deposit. And this does assume that the new bid comes in at double what was given last year, and that is the expectation. And I'll take questions at the end if that's okay with you guys. Okay. Expenses this year, I formatted the budget a little bit differently. It's a little bit more transparent, and it's apparent in what areas the money is being spent, and also so that it can be more directly tied to the DDA plan. So the first section you see there is the administration and operations. There's nothing remarkable here, just two items show increases. One is a small increase for basic cost of living increase for me and for Nate, our Parks and Rec part-time employee. Cost of living, whatever the city normally receives, would be that we would get that as well. No fringes are paid for me. I'm a part-time person. But Nate does receive a full benefits package. And also in that section, the dues education and training line includes the cost for a merchant training seminar. That was added for 26. We have not done this in 25 or in 24, and we need to get that rolling every year in the future. Then in the enhancement section, it was broken down into beautification, maintenance, projects, and the New York parking lot. So the first one is beautification. As you know, we have flower pots on the streets, and we have 3 full seasons of flower pots this year, summer, fall, and spring. There's another expense in there for concrete pads, and this may or may not happen, but sometimes you'll see a park bench that is on a grassy spot, or a flower pot that's on a grassy spot, or even a bike rack that's on a grassy spot. They're easier to trim around, mow around, and they're more stable if they have concrete pads underneath them. We didn't do that this year, the first year of the project, because it's a little experimental. We thought we might have to move some things, and we did end up moving some things. And this expense may not occur this year because we still might want another year of that kind of experimentation. The lamppost painting project will depend on funding participation from council. The enhancement committee has a recommendation that's going on the DDA agenda 2 days from now, Wednesday, that talks about process for moving forward with that project, so that it will conform to the directives that we had given the DDA earlier this fall. The maintenance category is, I love that it's separated into maintenance because I want people to see what it costs to keep things looking nice. Most of these costs, though, are primarily placeholders, and they're included there in the case that the need should arise. The one cost to note is a $5,000 contribution from the DDA to the general fund for restroom maintenance. This was done at the request of council. It's based on a rough calculation that Rachel helped me with, based on Nate's wages and how many hours are dedicated to cleaning restrooms. It actually came in at $4,500, the rough calculation, and we budgeted $5,000 for it. Then there's the streetscape project, and the beginning this project in 2026 with planning is the intention, and then to follow through in 27 with the implementation. This has been talked about at the board level and the committee level since the 2 years I've been here, and it's time to get it going. I would say that some background information from the DDA plan reads, and I'm gonna read it here. It's a streetscape project will be implemented within the CBD that addresses new trees, garden features, seating, tree grades, sidewalks, lighting, irrigation, and other improvements. This is a long-range project that may be implemented in phases and will be completed in cooperation with the city of Tarpon Springs. So how that cooperation will be structured financially is unknown at this point, but it will likely depend on the estimated costs that come from the plan that we hope to determine in 26. The $20,000 expenditure you see is based on an estimate from the city planning consultant to work with the DDA board to develop the plan, and the plan will include community, planning commission, and council input. This is a major change to downtown, and it needs to be vetted through everyone that is involved. The New York parking lot is also listed there. Now that the lot belongs to the DDA, we're anxious to make some things happen there. A name change probably will be the first thing that happens. In fact, probably anecdotally, probably all the parking lots should have different names, and we could look toward doing that maybe in time for the shopping map this spring. We may need to spend money on a consultant to amend the DDA plan to include work for this. It may be able to be done in-house. I don't know the answer to that, and maybe it doesn't even need to be done. Maybe it's addressed in other ways, but I did include some money in there for that, just in case it needs to be spent. And there definitely is long-term opportunity with the DDA owning that lot, but no plans are made for that right now, or even being talked about. But the trash enclosure that is there does need work. But the trash enclosure needs to be there, but it also needs work. That's what $20,000 placeholder there is for. It should not include that number. The enhancement committee has already started to talk about some things they would like to see there. And then finally, the last category is promotions, and what is being increased there is the last year we had is a large increase for social media. Last year was an experiment with a consultant, and we had great success. Merchants loved it, the board loved it. We saw great data with our social media pages, but there's much more room for development here. This is a high priority of the committee and of the board, and the focus of the campaign for next year will be 4 seasons of shopping and dining, and then also including individual merchant stories. Also included in this amount could be some mini trainings for merchants, how to promote your own page, how to do your own social media. We also need a website refresh. Money is included in there for that, not a totally new website, but a refresh. The Ice Fest amount in there includes $6,000 spent over what is being taken in on the sponsorship. So this is like the Santa's Workshop. We're spending $5,000 on Santa's Workshops. We're spending $6,000 on this event. It will be offset. The $20,000 that we get for the sponsorships will offset this. Just like Santa's Workshop or sidewalk sales, promote spending money on an event. And you will notice there are no funds budgeted to come from fund balance, leaving that money to accumulate for the streetscape project, which the projected timeline would be 2027 for that. Questions?
I have questions, but I feel like once we discuss, I feel like council can ask questions once we get to the council portion of it. Is that okay? Can we continue with the public hearing until?
Okay, because I have questions too, but they can wait.
Okay, thank you.
If you want to go to the capital improvement plan,
What I think needs to happen first is we need a motion to close the public hearing, we're going to public comments. And then that council can have the opportunity to discuss the budget, and ask questions.
I move we close the public hearing.
1 second.
Wendy Reeve,
Yes.
Kathy Macho,
Yes,
David Melky,
Yes.
Jeannie Benjamin,
Yes.
Tom Van.
Yeah.
Public hearing is closed at 7:38.
Now it's up to council to discuss the budget. Any questions we have?
Today.
Are we
Yes, I was
going
going
in
to.
order?
I'm just throwing it out. I'm curious why you're not projecting property taxes to increase, they stay the same.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Property taxes,
I'm curious why property tax has stayed the same from 2025 to 2026 in the budget.
any increase in property tax values is offset by the Headley override. So our millage rate, as the tax values go up, the millage rate goes down. And anything based on new growth is captured by the DDA. So our property taxes should stay fairly flat, if not decrease.
And when do we know what that value?
March, I think, is when Jeff does his equalization stuff with the county,
Okay, so we don't know what the rates are gonna be
No,
until it
no.
comes back.
unfortunately.
What do we get for other recreation fees for 35,000? Where's
That
that come
from
from?
the townships. Little Traverse, West Traverse. Get
Yeah, just them two.
just those two, yeah.
Those are for Kiwanis, the
The
beach, and
beach.
the skate park.
Paid time off has gone up $100,000 since 2021, but is that a negotiated with your union contract?
Yes, correct. Not that it's gone up. I mean, if somebody retires, they have this accumulated, especially some that's been here for 20 plus 30 years. So yes, that one does fluctuate depending on employees coming and going and if they're off for an extended period of time.
You're budgeting for the retirement of police officers.
Yeah,
correct?
so when, please,
Okay.
Josh, how many years is he? 30?
26.
26 years, so he has a PTO bank that's maxed out, right? You know, we have 6 months worth of PTO you can save up, and the whole purpose of that is for, short-term disability, right? You know, you save up so you can take some time off if you're sick, but we also have stipulations in our contract that you get paid out at X percent of that.
Based on years.
Based on how many years you have served, you get a high percentage of your PTO payment when you retire or quit, depending on how many years you work. So with someone like Officer Josh Johnson, he's been here 26 years, he's getting a larger payout than you would see in other PTO line items for previous years.
The electrical fund under supplies, you budgeted 25,000 and we spent 110 this year. Is that the ice storm?
Which line item page number was that?
Page 20.
First, second, or third.
Bottom, the last paragraph. It's supplies 7.66.
Oh, that cost of labor and material sales. Is if our electric department has to go to somebody's home, a new build. Subdivision or something to that effect, where they're buying transformers. And we have to go in and especially put in something for that structure. We build them. So last year, I know Danny had to put in a new transformer down in Trail Creek. Or the one where the pool burned. Harbor Cove, and I think that was 25 grand just for that. And so those are in and outs, he'll buy and then bill. That's something outside of the,
So we build them for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
can see in revenue, the labor and material sales we budgeted 150 and we brought in 250. So that's probably part of that.
that is exactly that.
Richard, has the city ever looked into the New York Cloud or whatever it is? And see if the gas stations were ever removed? Used to be a concert happening, gas pumps there.
So that would have been in the early 1990s when that transaction happened. When the lot was sold to DBA, so I would have to go look back to see if what other business happened there.
We weren't known. People too lazy to take it out of the outside sale. Costs about $5,000 usually.
I have to do that research. But that was the early 90s though, yeah.
Gasoline, okay.
So it's a gasoline, it wasn't part of the fuel dock that you're talking about.
I'm talking about the right
Separate,
by New York. There.
okay. Okay,
Fred Harris had a concert out there. Gregor bought it.
got it,
They moved on.
before my time. I have. Let's see. Where do I want to start? Huh?
They go on.
Do I want to start at page 1?
I think so.
Oh, yes, actually. One item I'd like to, I think we need to consider changing for both 25 on the estimated actual and 26 estimated budget is a transfer in from the electric fund. Because the electric fund is going to be facing some significant expenditure in the next couple of years. And we're borrowing as it is, so I guess I thought it was gonna be, we were taking it out of the 2026 budget anyway. So that was my first question, but then I guess, why wouldn't we go ahead and can we take it out in 2025? And what are your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, we've been transferring that in for decades. The amount has gone up over the years. I think it makes sense that if you're borrowing money and bonding for the project in the electric fund, you know, you're borrowing money, yet you're still giving money back to the general fund. The only caution there is that's $245,000 out of the general fund. And so that is probably about 7% of our operating funds in the general fund overall budget. So where do you recoup that money and what don't you do?
Well,
Get rid of that $245,000.
well, and that's why I'm asking the question, is does it affect what we could do in the general fund or but the other side is if the electric fund has the money, then can they afford to request a smaller bond?
What I can tell you, and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, when they do the utility rate schedule, the utility rate study, is that they're looking at our current electric fund budget. And so they're accounting for that $245,000 transfer to the general fund. So they're assuming our rates going forward and our bonding is all based on this current budget.
Okay, but this is something we can change.
So absolutely, but I'm trying to get to the point of that it's not going to we planned for it, so it's planned. So it's not, we're not going to be worried about negatively impacting the electric fund if we continue doing this.
I
The only
understand.
the only thing it'll do is if you take it away for the next several years, you'll have that much more money going into electric fund, which I think is a great thing. So that way we don't get to this point in the future where you have this, you know, we have a $5 million project and we've been transferring $250,000 a year to the general fund. But it will affect their general fund operating. If you take away this $245,000, it either you won't have money that we can put in the reserves.
Right.
Or I don't think we need to cut anything this year, but we definitely in the future years, we really have to rethink services if you're taking away $245,000 a year. So could you come to some compromise numbers, some middle ground number that might work better out? You could.
But is there a reason we couldn't take it out for 25 and 26, but there's no commitment that we wouldn't reinstate it after the bond is issued and we have a better idea what our costs are for the substation? I guess that's where I'm coming from. I'm not looking for a hard and fast, we're gonna do this for a certain amount, it's just,
No, this is a budget that we set every year, you guys set, and I wouldn't be opposed for cash flow purposes. I mean, we have to watch general fund, like Victor said, but
Mhm.
we got a lot going on in the electric fund, and $500,000 to $500,000. And the less we can pay cash for and not stretch ourselves thin, is the less we have to bond for. So in theory, if we could wrap this project up by 2027, early 28, we could revisit that transfer in at that point
Mhm.
and say, okay, what's manageable? What can we do? What should we do? And readdress it from there and just take it out for these 2 years.
I mean, there isn't any reason that we can't
No.
revisit it if we do a budget amendment, when we do next year's budget or the
Correct.
budget after that, right?
Correct. Yes, I mean, we can, you guys as council can revisit this every month if you'd like, you know, yes. We can make amendments.
We don't do that too.
But yes, I mean, that absolutely can be pulled from the budget on both sides, transfer in, transfer out.
Okay. When, assuming this is not, it's not an if, it's a when we get the FEMA money, will you be putting that revenue in different buckets, or is it all gonna stay in the general fund where you've got it budgeted?
Right now, I haven't got it and I don't have a whole lot of faith of getting it immediately, so I don't know yet.
Okay, fair enough.
It could be 10 days, it could be 2 years.
I submitted, there's always something else to sign, so I had to sign something else today. I submitted through the portal and it says final signature and review, so I don't.
I think I've already seen that one like 2 months ago.
They keep on giving me hope, dangling that carrot. Pulling it higher. It's not like I have to do any additional work, it's the next thing you have to do. So
Yeah.
right now it's in the state's hands, so the state, the emergency management is kind of coordinating the grant distribution for FEMA at this point. FEMA came in, they did the whole assessment. Now the state is now like, they're giving the money to the state to the cities and municipalities. So we're at final stages. I'm very confident we'll get the money. I'm just not confident exactly when, but it'll be in 2026. It will be.
So,
The expiration for the project is sometime in 2026. So we'll have.
and as I understand it, although there's been some talk about some entities not getting FEMA funds that were requested, that we don't believe that applies to us.
Yeah, so
To the city.
The big thing with the FEMA funds, what the FEMA denied, what the federal government denied was utility funding for permanent work as your response to the ice storm, not for temporary work to restore the power. So we had very little bit of our work was permanent work. We had about 12 or 16 poles that we replaced after we did our temporary response. So, but for temporary emergency responses, getting people connected and restored, that was covered. That was the majority of our work. I think it's only about $25,000 materials and labor that we aren't getting covered for. So. And the great thing too is though, when we get through this process, all those volunteers who spent so many hours at the shelter and doing other things as their ice storm response, we will get reimbursed as a city for their volunteer time to a certain extent. So thank you guys.
It was roughly
Yeah.
$40,000 on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was significant amount.
Okay. Anybody else wants to jump in with questions? Please.
You're doing fine, guys.
Oh, gee, thanks. That was the biggie. I see equipment rental, and you answered this earlier, when it's going up in the police department significantly. And I gather that's because we just weren't expensing enough for that in prior years, so we adjusted our estimates.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten on a good rotation with chief's cars,
Mhm.
which I feel is the right direction, is to rotate one out every year. I think you got about 4. Or roll them out every year so that they're not costing more in maintenance. But the way our equipment rental with the equipment fund was set up, the equipment fund wasn't earning enough money off those rentals to to cover a car.
Okay,
That's how we ended up there. Lucas got after me for about 3 years now, so we finally got there.
is there a budget in here for a car for 26?
Yeah, and the equipment fund way in the back.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's in the equipment.
If you remember all our purchase of vehicle,
I do, sorry.
so it's kind of, I know it's confusing, but it's every year. And again, this was the same thing, we'll get in the capital improvements plan discussion. Same discussion with the Marine Patrol boat, right? You know, the amount of money we need to allocate to the
Sure.
waterfront fund going forward to be based on appreciation schedule of a boat. Same thing with police car, it should be the actual value that it's worth.
What we do with our cars is we replace one every year, but then we skip a year every 4 years. So we go a year without one, we try to ride it. They accumulate a lot of miles, because we've increased our mileage. You'll see in the annual report. We went from, like, when I came here in 17 of like 30 to 40,000 miles for a year. We're now around 80,000 miles. We've doubled our mileage. Because one of the guys out on patrol, so those cars are accruing a lot more miles than they did in the past. So that's why we need to replace them. We have one sitting with 121,000, another one with 100,000. It becomes cost effective of buying a new one or continuing to take it up to Harbor Car Care and have them repair it.
Okay. Are we having any luck with, regarding fire department? We had a little conversation today about how we're looking for someone, how we're gonna fill that. How long have we been looking?
So they put in the budget every year, but they're not actually actively working right now, just in case they decide to actively.
Oh,
So they-
okay, I
The last
misunderstood.
couple of years, they've anticipated they wanted to do it, but they just pushed it back, I think, until Chief Cups is ready
The
to.
last conversation we had was they have a candidate or two that is on the department that would make a good candidate for that position. But the board, fire board wants to keep that earmarked in there in case super fireman just showed up on the steps and wanted to pull back down. We'd be ready for it, but
But technically, like that that 60,000 wouldn't come just from the city because the other.
Right.
People pay in.
absolutely, right. Little Traverse bears the brunt of that one.
Okay. I don't know where you are, but under skate park operations, is that just for the skate park or does that include pickleball and Cosequat? That whole,
All the above.
okay. For the parks and grounds, the 540 for capital outlay. I understand wanting to take it out, but I think that at one point, council had talked about if they wanted to do it, we should commit a little bit to that. And I think it would be nice if we could pick a number that, say we got the $400,000 in donations, are we willing to spend $100,000 and make sure that that's in the budget? I think that might help get people to realize that we're serious about doing that project instead of just waiting for people to give us money and not committing to it.
So, so in other words, instead of, we're thinking about the not showing the capital outlay that's the full cost, but just put in what the city is planning on.
If that
providing.
works.
No, so the reason that wouldn't work is because we need to show in the revenue that would be coming in, the revenue side of things. So if the boardwalk costs $500,000, but we're only gonna pay $100,000, we'll need to show $400,000 in the revenue line. But we'll still need to show that $500,000 in expense line.
So,
It would net out. So in theory, what you're saying, leave that in here. You guys at some point, it doesn't have to be tonight or even next week, somewhere along the line, spring. Hey, we want to put in 150 grand out of the coffers. It's already earmarked in that 500. then as the year goes by and we start to get these donations, if and when, then we make an amendment mid-year or end of the year and say, hey, look, we got 400 grand. We've raised, let's go. So the net effect is what you're getting at, Kathy.
No, I'm not sure. Sitting here looking at what we're showing as a budgeted capital outlay and what we've also got it on the CIP, I
Right.
think, right?
Yeah.
But, we don't have at this point, we aren't showing the revenue anywhere
No,
to offset this, so it really makes the
deficit.
look
Yeah,
uglier than it is. So I guess, that's my question is, do we want to put this? I'm just saying, should we be rethinking the CIP?
If you keep it in, just recall it, and you also take out that $245,000 from the transfer in from the electric fund, then you'll be showing a deficit of $1 million.
No,
If you keep the boardwalk expense as $500,000.
yeah.
I understand that. That's
But I'm trying to say, and you take out the transfer electric fund,
yeah,
we're at $1 million deficit.
Right, but I get what you're saying, Kathy. So, and in my mind, the way I look at these budgets, obviously they're important. Very important. But they're also a living document. So we left it in there and then said, you know what, hey, we got 300 grand, boom. Then we would amend the budget. And if we got to the end of the year and we're exact same spot right now as we were last year at this time, we just amend that down to 0 and move on. But I'll do whatever you guys tell me. I mean, however you want to make it work. We can take it out, all of it, amend the budget in the fall, if we decide to go forward.
I mean, I feel like it's an open item and, I mean, that's part, we've had lots of discussions about it. Money raised still hasn't reached numbers that we're thinking about. I partly concerned if somebody looks at this that hasn't talked about it, heard about it in these months and looks at it later and goes, oh, they've got that in the budget for that. And it's like, well, yeah,
But there's more. to this
it's there, but we're not, we
Yeah.
don't have the money, so that's my question.
I guess going along those lines from a number standpoint, then. If the council said, let's do 150 grand, just number sake for me now,
Mhm.
and we don't know if we're gonna do it at all. Then I would turn around and say, let's net it out and put 350 grand in anticipated donations. And the result's the same as if you took it out completely. But that would then tell you.
That's
that-
kind of where I was coming from, where I wanted us to commit to,
150 or something,
Whatever.
whatever number.
just because I think that we need to show that either we want to do it or no one's gonna think we're serious.
Right. Yeah, there's several different ways. I mean, when we look at the cost, the last we looked, it was $500,000, give or take. That has to be in a capital outlay, but how we get back to the fact that we're to contribute X, fundraise for the other double X. You can take that completely out. Put in expected revenues of 350, noting that the city will contribute 150 or any combination thereof. I guess that's entirely up to you guys.
Because at this point, we can't take this out of here unless
Yeah, we can.
we could, but we also would be changing the CIP budget.
It's
The
just a
CIPs
plan.
Well, just a plan. I mean, if you said, you know.
We
what,
can take
we'll
it
go-
out of the plan. I know.
You
I'm
can move
just,
into next year.
Yeah,
okay.
just keep in mind that whatever we do here today and next Monday is not Moses and tablets. These are, we can change this anywhere along the path.
Right.
It's just what you guys decide and then we'll just do that accordingly.
So I guess the two things that we need to decide for the general fund is, do we want to take out that electric fund transfer and do what we want to do with that 540. I don't, if anyone else has an opinion, those are the two things I've heard from the general fund that we need to,
Yes, oh, there's one other.
oh, sorry. I jumped ahead of you.
There was one other thing.
Oh, I know what you are gonna
Yeah,
say,
Yeah.
the transfer to the
The
waterfront.
transfer out to the waterfront fund. I know we agreed to do, we agreed to do it based on the proposed budgets for the cash balances. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. There will be at the end of 26. If we go ahead and choose to lend this money from the general fund to the waterfront fund would have cash, unrestricted cash of about $450,000. So even if we did not do the transfer, I mean, there'd still be $200,000 in the cash balances for the waterfront fund. And my question is, does the waterfront fund need that cash when? So that's my question.
I guess there's a few ways of looking at it, right? So if the question first is it a loan or is it a gift, right? If it's a loan, you know, they don't absolutely need that money, but the reason you want it right now, $200,000 will be, if you leave them with $200,000 in the reserve fund, it's going to be about 1/3 of their operating costs. You know, their budget is usually around $600,000. So we try to keep it higher for expenses for us. When it comes down to it, though, let's say, you know, they have a $200,000 issue, you know, with their docks and they have to, you know, replace all these things and it takes them down below zero. The general fund would probably have to cover the difference anyway. But it's healthier from an accounting perspective to have that money in there, so you don't have to go back to the general fund to transfer it, but you could. So you could wait and.
I'm thinking of, as I look at the cash balances, I'm looking at, as we were talking about before, the bond and how much we actually bond for in the electric, you know, and the fact that we're looking at this, if we don't transfer this out, then it's not so bad that we're not getting the transfer in from the electric.
Yeah,
Am I backwards on that?
no, you're right. You're right, but that's just a 1-year solution.
I understand.
So it's like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
To the bigger issue
Well,
of the 240.
I mean, but the $250,000, if we do it as a loan, they're gonna have to pay back anyway.
Right, I'm talking about it's a Band-Aid for the general fund deficit that you'll see by taking away that 250.
Gotcha.
And yes, you're right on all these different angles.
Oh,
If we can pick whatever one we want to do, or we can just change it whenever we want. My recommendation on something like that is this starting point A. Let's see where, this is another option, see where we come out with the harbor master building come May, I think is our deadline. And then go from there and maybe redirect that monies instead of back to the harbor master as a gift, a loan, a stipend, whatever you want to call it. Maybe then think about it going to the equipment fund for a patrol boat. Or something to that effect that's going to need to be spent anyway, so let's think that through. So, but again, it's up to you guys. There's multiple avenues here.
So
Any opinions?
Yeah, I've been thinking that we should practice our patience on fundraising for that boardwalk. It's only been a year and they already raised almost $80,000 without really putting much effort into it.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be looking for immediate gains there. We don't really have to have that boardwalk operational for several years. But instead of spending 500,000 on that, we could spend 325 and move the marine boat replacement up here. And then we'd still have another 200 that we could be spending on what the citizens have been asking for is sidewalk replacement, which would get us 320 sidewalk squares, which is a significant amount. Because I just counted today, it's 125 sidewalk squares, more or less, because they're covered with snow, going up the West Hill for 85,000.
That's if all the sidewalk squares are adjacent to each other, so, yeah, I mean, if the contractor has to jump to a different place.
Yeah.
Well, I
But-
see your
But we
point.
could make it a significant dent in that.
The question is, do we still want to see then a $700,000 deficit by just saying, we're not gonna do the boardwalk this year, but we're gonna do these other things, is. I think if we're gonna allocate more money for sidewalks, whether it comes from the general fund or elsewhere, probably should try to have a more detailed plan. I think for us, at least doing it off the cuff right now to see what that's gonna look like, it'll take a while. I think initially my reaction is that's a lot of money to put in for the sidewalks in general fund at a one-time look, but
the sidewalk are already,
there's
That's
there's.
the-
35K in each year, but it only gets you about 50 squares, more or less.
right, but we have in the budget, I thought we had a capital outlay
Going up the West Hill.
going for the West Hill.
Yeah, that's 85,000 and. it's
Right, that's in here
125.
already.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
But I'm just saying, since that's what I hate to say, I'm giving you a boardwalk when you've been saying you want sidewalks fixed. So if
I
we
agree.
can tackle both of those,
Mhm.
we quell the rising tide. And we still get a boat 1 year earlier.
So I guess my question is, what kind, do we need to change the budget since these are the issues that we have?
So,
I mean, I'm thinking of the expectations, for example, of the waterfront fund. I don't want them making plans if they're thinking there's money coming that isn't, or.
I think on that front, since the waterfront fund harbor commission is going to be looking for that at this point,
Okay,
maybe leave that one alone and have a harbor commission meeting, having this conversation regarding the boat, and then take that part of the puzzle and go from there. Take the 500,000 out for the boardwalk and put some amount of money into sidewalks, just flop it up. Take the 245,000 out to the electric fund. And I think that was it at this point.
oh, so is there any issue with us paying for sidewalks out of the general fund rather than the street fund, which is where it's
No.
set up? Okay, doesn't matter.
What I would probably do if the street funds weren't flush enough with the other projects coming up, you could authorize transferring 75 grand or whatever each year to cover that.
I guess my concern about spending too much out of the general fund for sidewalks is if we spend too much money at the same time for sidewalks, we're gonna run into the same issue in
Correct.
however many years, where we're gonna have to replace a lot of sidewalks at the same time instead of planning them out over the course of many years. And I mean, I walk a lot and I know that the sidewalks aren't pretty in some places, but I don't think that it's always about that. I think that, safety is the main concern, and I just don't want to get into a place where we're spending money out of the general fund for sidewalks all at one time.
And we do have, I guess, a year and a half to go to see if council wants to renew the public safety millage, or is, that does not get renewed, or that's, $300,000 off from the general fund revenue coming in. So these things from a long-term perspective all need to be thought about.
Mhm.
But to the other side of that point, you know, before we had a local streets millage, a lot of that funding for local streets and the sidewalks was coming from the general fund anyway. That's
But
the reason-
didn't people have to pay
but at that time,
part of their
people
sidewalks?
pay 2/3 of
Yeah.
the cost of the sidewalk repair. So you're looking at all these different variables, but it was funded by the general fund, but we were only covering, as Jamie said, 1/3 of the cost of it. And we weren't fixing sidewalks to appease the aesthetics part of it. It was purely for safety. So,
And that's what our
right,
standard is,
right.
right, is safety.
And yeah, and the philosophy that was always been followed is if it's, you know, you don't like the way your sidewalk looks, but it's safe, then you can replace it on your own at any time. Just like you can put grass, put sod in the city right away, you know, instead of our grass seed, you know, it's fine. You want to make, you know, better improvements because visually it'll look better, you know, you can do that. However, we have to also be very responsible, cognizant that the money we're spending on sidewalk is taxpayer money. So would a taxpayer want to pay, you know, sidewalk just to make it look better when there's other sidewalks that will pop up that are safety issues?
I
Well,
guess,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I guess regarding those three things, like Nick said, leave the 250 for the waterfront fund. I kind of see it because they don't have any large projects upcoming that it should be maybe a loan versus
Right.
versus a gift.
Do like a 5-year loan.
Yeah, and then as far as the 540 for the boardwalk, I think we should take it out at this time. And then,
Well, just a clarification, that's 500 for the boardwalk, the 40 is for Shea Park, right?
yeah,
Yeah, just let you know. so
Yeah.
Just don't say
Okay.
it's just all board.
I guess if we're gonna leave the 40 in for Shea Park, I would like to see contributions in some way a little bit higher just to offset that.
So the revenue for donations.
Yeah. And I don't know if anyone has any opinions on that. And then I guess I would like to see what it does to the general fund to remove the 245. I think I'm okay with doing it for 2026, but maybe less. I'm not sure about both years without looking at it closer.
2025,
Already, yeah, you know,
uh,
should be for 2026, because 2025, we take out that 245 for 2025, that's a.
I mean, I think we'll be able to better see once we get the rate study back too.
I agree with that, yeah.
But that'll be after.
Right, but leave the 25 alone. Take out for 26, we can always take out for 27.
well, here's a thought along those same lines. Leave it for 25, take it out for 26, see where we fall out with this bonding and the substation and all that this year.
Mhm.
The audit will be done by May. Then I'll know exactly what we've got left, audited numbers in the general fund, where we end up landing at the end of 2025.
Mhm.
And then there's nothing that says, hey, we budgeted and transferred 245 and 25. Let's transfer back.
So we could do that. We don't have to decide on that. this
No, you can
minute.
do any of these
We could
things.
amend, okay, I wasn't sure
anytime. Yeah.
how long we could add to amend 25.
My,
Okay.
my goal for these amendments to 2025,
Mhm.
if I'm in these governmental funds, such as the general fund and the street funds, and we amend something too harshly the wrong direction and we go over budget in that one line item,
Mhm.
I get a friendly letter from the state. So that's why you'll see some of the stuff is fairly conservative, and then where it actually comes out, I don't like those letters, actually. They're not a damn thing they can do about it because we don't collect any money from them, but I still don't like it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess whatever direction you guys point, and I'll go,
I
take
got,
out the 500 grand.
yeah, I got 3 things,
What was the
four
third?
things here, yeah, leave the 250 for the waterfront is what I'm hearing.
For
Make it a
25,
loan, make it a loan. Make it a loan for 5 years from the waterfront fund. Show revenues, maybe $20,000 of revenue for Shea Park donations. Remove the 245 $100K transferred in from the electric fund for 2026. Remove the $500,000 for the boardwalk, but maybe commit to spending a certain amount to encourage others to donate. And then also, the open question is, do we want to earmark any money from the general fund for sidewalks, additional sidewalks than what Councilmember Reed had brought up, additional sidewalks than what we're paying for right now, about 35,000 a year. Earmark some general fund money. So those are
It's,
four things.
the sidewalk thing is hard for me to. It's hard because everything's covered in snow.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I
No,
didn't mean to
go-
interrupt.
I'm just thinking.
General fund, I mean, we're looking at numbers and we're stuck in the general fund at this point. I mean, our local and major street funds are decent shape. We budgeted the 85 grand in sidewalks going up the West Hill. Doesn't mean between, depending on where the sidewalks are at, but local streets in conjunction with the general fund, once we zoned in on a spot, that here's this problem child, go up for bids and then say, okay, we can do that this fall, let's amend the budget and here's where it's coming from.
And we also know the DDA has some money earmarked for sidewalks and,
Those are the kind of things that are so much more economical if we can do them all at the same time instead of having a contractor flipping through town to say, here's your list, make it happen.
Yeah.
But
That reminds me, we've talked about the general fund to death now. Maybe we have other stuff, but I think we had some questions about the DDA budget.
the last.
Does anybody
Yeah.
have any other questions on any of the other, I'm not suggesting we don't have other things, I'm just.
Would be nice.
What'd you
Said
say?
it would be nice. And
I'm sorry, Victor.
I'm okay. If we go to DDA, if you wanna go ahead.
anything you guys stumble across as you're looking, this, these are not set in stone and you just call me. Stop in.
Oh, yeah, we never just stop in.
I might not see you coming out of the one side of my face, but I'll hear you.
I'm sorry, I had that in a different pile. DDA, I guess my questions, and these may be Becky will need to answer, I don't know, but we'll just see. There's no criticism, this is just question. On the Ice Fest, so we're basically thinking that it's worth doing, even if there's not you can't generate enough revenue to cover the costs.
Just like sidewalk sales doesn't generate revenue to cover costs.
Okay.
Santa's workshop doesn't, the Skeletor doesn't. It's an expense of putting on an event in the town.
Okay, and obviously you guys think it's a worthwhile event.
Yes, and it is in the DDA plan to grow it and become certified in several years. They are taking some steps this year that will grow it and planning to make it so.
Okay. And I'm not sure how to ask this because I haven't studied this, well, two things. The long-term plan, and I'm not sure what you call it, if it's the streetscape project or whatever. Since I'm guessing kind of at the beginning of that, so we don't really know how much that's gonna cost over years.
The first step, we need to, the only step that's been taken is
Got it.
I've talked with Jen Michelangeli about working with us. It's gonna come to an enhancement committee meeting and we'll get started once it's solved.
Okay, I guess my question is, I'm sorry.
Exactly true. Margaret on the enhancement committee has volunteered to design the tree grades. Should we go tree grades? She's talked with a donor who would sponsor those. I mean, there's been that kind of conversation, but financially, we don't have a clue.
Okay, I guess the reason I'm asking is, I'm looking at expenditures. For example, I mean, would it make sense to be more conservative on some of your expenditures to save some of the money forward? Because if the streetscape, some of this ends up costing a lot of money, where's it gonna come from? So can you guys put a reserve in? I mean, and I'm not the person to talk about beautification. Everybody knows that. But it's like, okay, the New York lot's been there the way it's been, and now you own it, but is it really necessary to spend money right now if you're looking at this longer term projects, and that 20,000 could be used for that? Just a thought.
Okay, we did talk about that when we did have the budget approval at the DDA, not that specific one, but
Okay,
we are not going into the reserves at all right now, this year. No carryover funds will be touched, and then there'll be more of those coming forward as the TIF continues to grow, as the county continues to, again, I see Nick looking at his magic papers over there, but maybe he can give a number.
Yeah, where's the reserve fund at right now?
2024 last audited was 430 grand. We spent 100 and whatever at Merchants Walkway.
right.
So as of 2025, I'm looking at a little over 400,000.
But your budget doesn't say that they actually transferred any money in from reserves. They budgeted for it, but I don't think, did you guys actually transfer money from reserves for the Merchants Walkway?
No.
Cause it was under budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of a misnomer of a term, but it works in certain scenarios. Transferring money from a reserve is not a real thing.
Yeah.
Right. We have a fund balance, and whatever's left when all year's said and done, that either goes up or goes down. So their fund balance has grown. And I think for these types of things that you're asking of bigger projects. I mean, we're looking at end of 26 of just $430,000 fund balance.
Is there another item I didn't see, and it just occurred to me, when the Merchants Walkway stuff was done and the irrigation didn't get done, is there anything in the budget to change that, fix that? I don't know what's involved, I'm just asking.
The irrigation is there for the water fountain. It's there for the properties for the parcels that the DDA has an easement with, or some kind of an agreement with. And so it is completed.
And I thought there was a portion of the irrigation
I
that
wondered
didn't
if
get
that's-
done.
There was a little behind the one. I can't think of that one's name now. Margaret Smith, behind her, but that I was able to find out later, that is not the city's responsibility, and we don't have to irrigate there, and she knows that. We don't.
Did
don't-
we we don't have planning in there or anything then? Oh,
And she's
Okay.
aware of that.
so everything that we're responsible for, you've got the irrigation resolved.
Is there, yeah.
Okay, that wasn't clear, I'm sorry, thank you.
Well, I was under the understanding that we were going to work there, but we are not, going to. It's not, we don't
Okay.
have easement there.
Thanks.
Where the fountain was is just a square now of dirt, isn't it? You don't have the fountain in this budget?
We do not have the fountain in the budget. There are many other things that happen in that plan that was derived before I arrived here. But the board's not recommending to go ahead with anything right now. They're recommending, we've got a lot of work done there. We cleaned it up. It looks good. And to wait for future years if we decide to continue with that. That square where the fountain is plumbed, all that plumbing is underneath there. Conversation has been to wood chip it and put one of our flower pots. Would make it look attractive, maybe two. Now, if there were people that were really, really interested in a fountain back there, then they could talk about that, and that could be planned for future years. It could also be done with donations. It's ready, and it's really, really wanted there.
I think that that's where I kind of was coming from about asking the DDA to participate with this capital improvement plan, is to make sure that like all of these items that are in your downtown plan that you want to do are being ranked, and the priorities are, the city staff is also ranking the priorities. Because at the end of the day, if sidewalks fail downtown and you guys don't have it in your budget, the city has to fix them. And so I think that it would be good for all of us if you guys came up with some CIP projects that could just be on the capital improvement plan. It doesn't mean you have to do them. It doesn't say when you have to do them, but it would be nice to plan and for us to look ahead at what the DDA goals are as far as projects. And then also, when you're talking about your projects, do you have like a completion, like the Merchants Walkway? Is it completed? Is it 75%? Is there any sort of method to that?
It's completed, is that question?
Yeah.
It's completed, the phase that we planned for. Is
Okay.
completed.
Okay. If, with all of the changes happening at City Hall right now, if you weren't able to use the shared employee as much, do you guys have a plan of how you would get that stuff done?
And since we put the budget together and approved it, that's when we found out that shared
Okay.
employee could potentially go away.
Yeah.
We would need, if that happened, we would definitely want to look for another employee, another contract. At a minimum, we need to have sidewalks plowed. We made such progress in having that done last year. We don't want to lose that. So I look at it as the money is still there in the budget. It could be Nate or it could be someone else.
And then I think just one more question about, for your marketing plans, do you anticipate that you're gonna have to spend that amount of money every year? Or is that like to get it started and then to maintain would be less?
My anticipation would be, and if I were to continue making budgets, would be to stay at that level. It would also be to see how it goes this year and see if it is too much, but this is what the committee and the board have decided where they would like to go with it. And I told the board when we talked about this, at some point in time, they're probably gonna want a full-time person to do this position. And if they do, that full-time person may be capable of doing that work. So then it could go away, but it would go in the salary of a full-time person. I said when I came here that I had people to do that. I don't do it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So you're better off with the contract right now.
Yeah. I guess as far as the transfer from the general fund, I would like to maybe talk about that more instead of just, like, I would like to work together on that project if we're gonna split the cost of it. That's just my opinion. I don't know if anyone else has opinions, but I struggle with prioritizing that over other things like sidewalks. When we didn't get a say in what projects came first. But I agree that we need to work together and some money can come out of the general fund.
So I didn't specify it specifically when I ran down the figures a little while ago. There is $10,000 in the maintenance next year for sidewalk. We did do some sidewalk repairs in downtown this year, and as they come up, that money is there. There's money ongoing in the plan for sidewalk repairs in the future. So just to remark on that, the $15,000 that's being requested is not a wash, but the DDA is giving 5,000. They are different line items, but they're giving 5,000 to the city for the restroom maintenance. And I also want you to know, and I think I alluded to this, but the enhancement committee is recommending to the board on Wednesday how to go about the directives that were given to them by the DDA. So, and you will be informed of that and obviously amenable to it before you would ever write that check. So.
So do you have, this kind of ties in with some of Jamie's questions. On what you've got budgeted for sidewalks, do you have specific sidewalks in mind that, do you have a list or anything?
Not at this point, although the one outside of Bar Harbor was supposed to get completed this fall, snow came too early, so I know that one will be done first thing in the spring. Another one by one of the churches was brought up to me. I haven't really inspected it, but that could be on the list. As it turned out this year, as they were brought up, we tackled them, so.
Mhm. Do you coordinate it all with the list of or do we need to formalize that? I know Lucas has kept track of, I don't know that it's a written list of like the sidewalks that are potentially safety issues and need to be tackled first. And I just want to know that we're coordinating that with
There
you
is a
guys.
coordination.
Okay, perfect.
So really, it's the DDA says, here's the budget we have. And then DPW helps them identify those locations of sidewalks that probably are most in need.
Who actually contracts it, the DDA or DPW?
DDA, the
Does,
first person I've spoken to in all of these is Lucas.
okay, great, perfect. That's all I wondered. Thank you.
Nick's budget for the DDA in 2026 calls for $60,000 in wages, and you have on here 65,000.
Look,
I
If we're talking personnel costs versus straight wages, but I'll check.
Oh, yeah.
We've got to add in, we've got part-time, we've got social security and all of that.
mine includes everything in one package.
Well, wages, fringes, et cetera, 65,000 includes cost of living for 2 staff. But the year before, it was 50,000 in 2025.
I think we're gonna be higher than that projected this year, Nick.
Yes, I've got 61,000.
When you add in when you add in the
It's more
fringes.
than,
Yeah, so yes, what you're saying, Wendy, from 2025, I'm looking at 50,000.
Yeah,
And I think what
so that's a 30% increase,
getting at,
well above the cost of living.
There will be no money paid above cost of living. No one is asking for a raise.
Oh, I know,
but
but
what
cost of living is 3%.
What did they name on? What did the name come on?
he's been there the whole time.
The whole year?
Yeah.
I think so. I think that maybe that this is just a not knowing how much Nate is going to do down there. I mean, if we don't get any snow, we're gonna be down. If we get, well, right example, you need to spend more time in Springleaf Street parking lots.
But does it also include like maintenance for when DPW is plowing
Yes,
the New York parking lot?
or whatever they may be doing down there, that's how they charge their time, and I never know if it's gonna be 2 hours or 200, depending on what they're doing.
But I think it's valid to make sure, we just need to make sure that we're coordinating your numbers on here, Becky's, that's all.
Yeah. I'll
Worst
look at
case
that.
scenario, it's money in the pocket. You get closer to the Overestimated fees. Another thing that we pay for is, rec, sometimes, Rachel helps with the flower pot a lot.
I'm sorry, they help with,
The flower pots,
Oh,
Rachel,
thank you.
Rachel gets right out there and just got right up there and did the work, so.
So, and this is not directed at the DDA, this is directed at all things in the city. Parks, everything. I think that we need to pay a lot of attention to how much new improvements to parks, downtown, anything, how much the ongoing maintenance costs are going to add up, because I think that at some point, if we continue to add, we're going to have to continue to add employees, and I think it's only gonna cost more. And I think the biggest part about hiring more employees is the healthcare. That's such a huge hit. And so I think that when we're planning all of these projects, there needs to be an emphasis on how much does it cost to maintain? Is there any way we can recover some of?
Absolutely agree, that's why I broke it down with a
Yeah.
every section in there, so. And I feel like everything in that section is probably
Yeah.
high, so that's another, to your point, Kathy, that's another place where we're likely to save money. And
okay,
You say you're gonna increase the amount being sent on social media and you're budgeting 18,000. How much was it before?
it's actually double what it was before.
And this is promoting the merchants, the town, or the DDA?
It's not promoting the DDA, it's a marketing tool. So it's promoting shopping, dining, doing business, coming to downtown, promotes the events, shopping here, getting us known. It's actually one of the most effective and least expensive ways of promoting it downtown. You want to take an ad out in the in the That's the Visitors Guide, it could be $4,000 or $5,000 for one ad.
This might be more of a Nick thing, but I know that on the budget, your budget, they have money for sidewalks, but that's like in the downtown projects. And it would be nice to see it, because we already have the downtown sidewalks line item, it would be nice to see it. And same with wayfinding, it would be nice to see so we can watch what happens over the years.
Yeah, I think what I need to do here with this, now looking back and forth, my numbers tie out in total.
mhm,
Yeah,
I need to expand, and Becky and I have talked about this for my purposes. I don't,
yeah,
means nothing to me, but
no, I get it.
I guess to be consistent for you guys and say, what's this for and.
I think you could
explain the
also,
DDA budget.
right, I think you could also potentially, because like Santa's Workshop, skeleton, like all of that is new. That if you just combine those line items, that's not going to affect. There's no history, so if you wanted to combine something, that would make it easier if you had, downtown.
Now,
Events
we've
or
talked about
promotions
this,
or
and I think
whatever,
it's easier just to
keep them individual, that's fine,
just make them how they are, then her board knows,
yeah.
you guys know.
I just would like to see
Don't care,
sidewalks
but-
specifically.
Gotcha, I can do that.
Pulled out,
I can attest that, over 30 years of doing this, that's how it's been done. The city keeps their records and they held it, and then the DDA sees more detail and knows exactly
Yeah.
where things are going in. It's been perfect.
And this is okay, I mean, there's line items to add, but it's not a giant budget, so. Long run, it'll be faster for me, well, in the end.
and then I just had one more question about. Your revenues increased because of the public safety millage. And I don't know how that works, or if some of the money should be used for public safety in some way, because that's what the voters thought the money was going towards, was public safety. I don't know if there's legalities around it, but I think that that's something that we should know for sure.
I think they're capturing, DDA is capturing the public safety and the street millage, right?
yes.
Do we know how much the increase is from
Uh,
the public safety millage? How
I
much?
think it's right around $15,000 per each mill. So 15 for the street and 15 from public safety.
I do know that that's common, the DDA funds throughout the state.
It is,
I just worry that promoting economic development and promoting more people to come to town and not providing for public safety, that's kind of what the purpose of that millage was for. And I think that coming to some kind of agreement or making sure that even if it's paying for services like for Ice Fest for the public safety, like that would be giving back to that fund. So just something to think about. I don't think you need to change anything, but 15,000 is a lot of money, and you guys have seen a lot of increases in revenue, whereas the general fund hasn't over the last couple of years.
I've been thinking that, I know this would be a long-term dream, but I think that the biggest thing that DDA could do for the downtown district would be to start working on heating sidewalks. That would benefit everyone, every person in the city. It would be a great use of your funds.
It would pay for itself, no one, in time, no one would
Yeah.
disagree with that. I've done the studies on that, it's extremely expensive to do. We're not Holland, we don't have a steam plant that we can use the spot as a byproduct. It's rare to see a community in the state doing that. However, there's a new product that Michigan State University has just developed, and it's bendable and repairs itself, and it heats somehow solarly. I'm going to a presentation on that actually in March, and I'm really excited about it. It's coming right at the time when we're looking at a streetscape, and I don't know, I don't want to build anything up. But yeah, heated sidewalks would be lovely, especially when you're trying to become a four-season community. Yes,
A dream.
but it's a lot of money.
Nick
But
would
the
like that.
sidewalks will have to be redone when the trees
Yeah.
go in, so.
Yes, that's the timing of this.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna work, but the timing is pretty good.
I think we've got our direction, I guess, if you guys don't have anything else, there's one thing that I would like to point out. That I just stumbled across on my sticky note. In the big scheme of things, it probably doesn't matter, but if you look in the police department, under that ice storm, 230,000.
Yeah.
I just got a bill from Grand Traverse Light Power, Traverse City Light Power for 30 grand. So that actually is gonna be a $260,000. So, but that's all of them. I was hoping they wouldn't send me one, but they did.
Out of the kindness of their heart.
So
So then I will make these changes. We'll go ahead.
the only other thing, was on the, under Linus, under the electric. Yeah, under the electric fund, the 1,000,006. Under contractual services for 2025,
Yeah.
that's still. You have a better number for,
Yes, I do. So if you look at page 22, that 1,000,006. I didn't know how much we were going to spend on these bids coming in before the end of the year. That number can be drastically reduced.
so is but it's gonna then increase the 6 million in 2026.
Yeah, yes. But that's where we come into the conversation about having already spent $1 million in cash
Right,
for these transformers. That hopefully, when we get there, we don't have to bond for 8 million. I would rather bond for, well, none, but 6 would be much better.
mhm. So is that necessary for you to change at this
I would-
point?
I would like to change that. Yes, I would like to put that at 500,000,
Okay,
take 1.1 million out of there.
okay,
And what that will reflect more for my ease of blood pressure. The cash flow statement in the way back,
mhm,
that electric at the end of the year is still at $74,708. I don't like it,
mhm.
even though it's a timing thing from the bond proceeds, that would put that at 1,174 projection. And then it would flow through the following year.
But by making this change, this doesn't change.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you. Have anything else you need from us?
You're just one of the pennies.
No, the what happens, these days that you guys have given me, I'll incorporate into this, and then the next go around, a week from tonight, it'll be basically budget adoption. It'll be one page. Here's the total revenues, general fund, expenditures on down the line. Motion to approve the adopted and proposed 2026. Unless something comes up between now and then that you want to talk about, we can certainly do that, but other than that's all I need from you guys.
We don't need a formal vote or anything.
No, we'll get the formal vote next.
Perfect.
All right, Mr. Mayor, if we move on quickly to item 4B, which is our capital improvement. Last Monday you had your presentation, so I'm not gonna go through the presentation again. I think I just want to use this opportunity for questions, recommendations, some changes to the capital improvement plan that council may have. So that way, same thing can happen next Monday. Any changes you want, we'll present to you. It'll just be a. As I mentioned, and we mentioned this a few times now, I think that the biggest thing for us is the expenses and the equipment fund plan for 2027. We'll both and you cannot do both of those purchases at that level, totaling about $300,000 in 2027 without taking money from another fund. So my biggest concern is, and I know there's been talk about, well, what if there's a donation to the vote, you know, that may happen, but I don't think at this point we can rely on that. So for planning purposes, there's been a recommendation that the patrol boat takes a little more precedent because there's been, well, it got higher rank in the scoring, but then the planning commission recommended as well because of it can be life and death for people that are on the water. If there's no marine patrol boat, it could cost someone's life. So it is vital for the emergency response. Of course, not having an operable plow truck would also mean potentially dangerous roads. We'll still have another reason.
Okay.
They both have their. But anyway, that's a big thing from my standpoint for the 2027.
It's would it be moving the Marine Patrol boat to 2026 and the plow truck to 27?
I mean, I think you could potentially move. You want to keep the Marine Patrol boat in 2027, see if money can be, you know, someone want to try to fundraise for the patrol boat as long as the city selects the boat, you know, and the kind of boat we need, and then does a fundraiser for it, you know, that would be most appropriate. And then if that comes, we see if we have any fundraised money, then we'll know, all right, well, maybe we can afford a plow truck now in 2027. If not, then we could say, hey, let's push the plow truck back 1 year and just spend a little bit more on repairs than we might need, but you know, that needed to. It's my suggestion.
So the boat potentially could take up to 9 months to get here. So even if I was to order or to work on it in March, and I would rather not push that. I think we could push it till 2027 as far as the budget portion of it. And I feel that our current boat with the work we had done on this summer, that we can get 1 more year out of it.
The only perk to getting a boat sooner, really, other than knowing that it's running, it would be that we would start seeing money come to the equipment fund from the waterfront fund, which we don't have right now.
But I thought we were doing that anyway.
That would be another bonus to putting it off to 2027, so the waterfront fund can hash out its building that's not done yet. then that revenue would start rolling in when we bought the boat,
Okay,
after they're back on their feet.
Okay.
And I also plan to try to do some fundraising for that.
Okay. I have a question for the chief. The police vehicle that's in for 2026, we still don't have the police vehicle for 2025, so do we really need? I hate to ask you this, do we really need one in 2026?
Yes, because the one that's, I have one sitting in Mount Pleasant right now that we've actually paid for out of, it's got partially here, the car's here. It just is waiting to get outfitted, all the lights and everything put in it. So it's in Mount Pleasant currently waiting for that to get done. Actually, Emily and I are gonna pick it up because we have to have it striped as well. And why it's sitting down there, I'm gonna bring it up, get it striped and then take it back down. It'll speed it up a little bit. But we do need the new car in 2026. The car that we'll get, that's down in Mount Pleasant, is replacing our 2019, which is 6 years old.
Mhm.
And that's our second, or that's our oldest car. The car that the 2026 is currently is the one that has 121,000 miles on it. And that has been a tough car for us. That if you talk to Danny, that car has been at Harbor Car Care a ton. And I would hate to go until 2027 to get that replaced. That car will have like 170,000 miles on it by that time.
I was just checking.
Yep, sorry. I'll just say, yeah, it's a,
and 2027 is already a hard year for equipment fund.
True.
And he's giving us a break that year. He doesn't want a car.
I was gonna say, I don't think I budgeted a car. for
He
2027.
doesn't.
So that's the year, like I said, every
Okay.
3 or 4 years we skip a year. That's the year that we skip the patrol car.
Got it, okay. I was trying.
And I had misspoken, I said plow truck, I said I meant bucket truck.
What?
Got it.
You meant what? truck?
Bucket truck.
Line bucket truck. Said plow truck.
I think I asked this before, and we didn't rank it really high. But, roof replacement. How badly do we need that? I mean, I'm still questioning why that's the roof replacement for the building down on 4th Street, right?
No, the salt building.
Yeah,
Hmm?
the salt building is more, yeah.
Salt building,
Yeah, we have a lot of salt.
we have a lot of salt.
Too.
I guess I thought that there was something else that was there and it was more for convenience
There's two.
than anything else.
So Nick, there's two different buildings.
Oh,
Salt shed that is up at DPW,
uh-huh.
and then from the rest, it's not a morgue anymore, but it's a morgue in this town.
You know,
It's a creepy place when you're a kid. But they need roofs, that we store a lot of stuff apparently in there.
Mhm.
The salt is super expensive, and once it starts getting wet, it becomes.
I
less
get
than
this, I get the salt, I just wasn't clear about. I thought there was other stuff stored there and it was more for convenience, and I'm,
I think that's, if I remember Lucas speaking on it, that if it didn't get done, it would not be that big of a deal this year.
okay,
But if you're going to have a roofer come in and roof, they'll just roof them both and move on.
And the morgue is tiny.
it's very
They're
small.
both teeny.
Yeah, they're very,
That much too.
The salt building is pretty
Big.
bigger than the morgue.
so the salt building's uphill.
That's up behind DPW.
Gotcha,
The morgue's on more.
I know the
And
morgue
and
is-
there's a lot of equipment for the downtown area, like the sawhorses, tripods, everything we use is stored down there.
Mhm.
The DPW pulls it out, puts it downtown.
Okay. I was just, that was you clarified it then, I was worried that there was that much for the roof for that equipment, and that's what.
Yeah, that road's relatively small.
Thank you. City Beach restrooms. Is 80,000 what we've got in the budget?
you know, so when this CIP was prepared, we just had we didn't have actual quotes from contractors on what the.
Okay.
So we had $80,000 as just a very vague
As
estimate.
a placeholder, so really the 55.
55,000 is gonna be more accurate based on quotes.
The 46K metering structure upgrades for 86,000, is that the smart meters?
No,
These are not meters that are gonna set your house on fire.
no, this is the metering structure upgrades for, are actually 46 kV transmission line that's gonna be coming from the substation. So it's nothing to do with monitoring usage at home.
Questions on the CIP?
Yeah, but as I mentioned in the last meeting, a couple of things that the planning commission brought up are things that we'll look forward for next year. For example, Center Street, whether it needs to have a more you know, thorough repair than just a chip seal fog repairs.
That has to do with this, we have to talk to the school.
Yep, that's the one to see if.
Okay,
we have
good.
A couple other points, but
Cool.
those will be for next year's CIP. Chief might can remember. There you go.
Put that in your head,
I got my
Kyle.
list.
Took one month.
Okay.
All right, so then if there's no suggested changes, then we'll just bring this for approval.
If there's things like we just discussed moving the boardwalk, do you want us, should we move it to 27 in the CIP?
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't,
And same with like the tree grades, because they're only doing the planning process, the tree grades aren't actually going to probably get done this year.
but I won't redo all my graphs.
That's fine.
Oh, that's okay.
Don't have time for that.
I think we can handle that.
Yeah, I guess we'll just approve that at budget time next week, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So next, agenda item. There is a review of the manager search for proposal, and Chief Knight and I worked on this one together, so I will let. Get this practice run at doing that, but I just said, note that there are several. Of these firms represented either online, on Zoom, or in person, so if you would like to give them a few moments to talk, if they want to. For those that are on Zoom, they can first raise their hands, but Chief Knight, you want to take it away?
So we reviewed the 200 pages of documents that were brought in and sort of consolidated what we felt were our key points of that. Included the cost, number one, the timeline, the experience and when we went to the experience, like some of these firms, it's hard to determine because they, like, there's one that may have started in 2021, but all their researchers have done this for 20 years. So while the business has only been in existence for 4 years, for example, their experience was quite severe, but we went by the year they were established, location, and then almost all of them had references or people that they had contracted with to find city managers, other staff. And my thought was, is just, you narrow it down to 3 or 4, whatever you feel, that I would follow up with those references and try to determine who the best company and make a recommendation either next week or the beginning of January.
What do we know about these firms? Do we have any experience with any of them?
So the only, oh. there you go.
No, the one recently is on a Boyne City's research, and that's, go ahead, Victor.
MML did the city probably back in 2009, 2010, we used MML for the city. But as far as help for any other recruiting that the city has done, no, none of these have been involved. Of course, we are members of the MML.
There are insurance carrier, yes.
Why do some of them think they can do it in 2 months, others in 4, most of them are 4, that's just being conservative?
You know, it depends on most of this, well, this is the outline that they provided. The outline is gonna be really, the timeline is gonna be guided by you guys, right? So, Kyle.
No, that's correct. We're gonna dictate the timeline. And the other thing to look for is if you want a firm, there's 2 of them from out of the state. There's, the rest of them are all from Michigan, which, and then, like I said, the recent one, just recruited Point City's position,
Mhm.
and MML is our carrier. But if we could also open up, we do have some of our guests in the crowd are some of these firms. So if you wanted to give them an opportunity to talk, might be beneficial.
Mhm.
Do you wanna hear if any of them wanna talk?
I guess I would, if they're not long
We can
present.
give them 3 minutes. You guys look at it.
Minutes.
Does anybody want to speak?
Yeah, I guess in person first. right?
Okay, yes, go ahead. Just advise us what company you're with, and you spoke at the last meeting, but you can refresh everybody, make sure you hit the fun. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy McClare. I live at 1604 Arrowhead in Hooper Springs, as well as in Birmingham, Michigan. I'm seasonal, but I come in the winter, in the opposite of most people that come to my name is Kier. And I've been skiing in Hooper Springs my whole life. And 6 years ago, we decided to buy a house here because our family comes up to ski regularly. As far as the search firm, I started my own search firm in 1992 in Detroit. I've been recruiting ever since. I've recruited for hundreds of positions, and I didn't give you a lot of detail because I figured you'd get several hundred pages like you did. And I'm here to answer any questions you have, but I can tell you that I have done city searches before. The last one I did was in the city of Ann Arbor. I've mostly done higher level searches. I primarily do executive level searches. I do searches for Fortune 500 companies and Fortune 100 companies. I do very senior level positions, and typically I do them all confidentially, and I do them with non-disclosure agreements, which is why I bring in this references, because they would be very upset if they receive phone calls or if their names appeared in a public record. So, but I would be willing to give you some references if I'm one of the ones that selected in that last few, I would give you some references, that you can call, but I didn't want to put it in and have it published all over the place because my phone would start ringing and say, what are you doing publishing my name? So I would be willing to give you some references if we get to that point. Now, one thing I can tell you, I didn't put my timer on, I'm sorry, I hope I don't run out of time, but one thing I can tell you is I tend to do searches upside down. I've been doing recruiting since before there were computers and everything was done by hand, phone, and paper and pencil. So I was trained to do the research up front, find out what the client needs, come up with what I think that they need, working with them, obviously. And then I go out and recruit based on what you're looking for. I don't start off by putting ads in the paper or online, that sort of thing, because I have found most of the people that are out with their resumes online are not ones that you want to work for your city. But there are people that it's the right time for them, they're moving and they happen to be online. That's not necessarily the best place to recruit. So I don't know if anyone read in the 800 pages that came in since last night, I doubt it, but I can tell you that when I was here on the 17th, I left and I went back home and to my office and I did my research. I figured out what you guys would need based on my 30 years of experience. I came up with an outline. I started doing my research. I found several cities that have similar attributes to Harbor Springs. They have historic downtowns, they're on the lake, they're seasonal. They have seasonal things going on in their town. So a lot of the same attributes. So then what I do is find the people, track them down, call them, ask them who they know that might fit these parameters. And usually it's the person I'm talking to. I hope they volunteer, some do, some don't. But often they give me referrals of people that do fit. So since then, I've talked to dozens of people since the 17th. And I've come up with about 4 or 5 candidates that actually fit what I think that you guys would want. But I haven't recruited them. They haven't said that they would apply for the position yet, but that's just kind of give you an example of how I work, is I go out and find the people that I think are best, recruit them and try to convince them, bring them to the town so they can see it and then decide if they want to make one. So I just wanted to explain that. I know it's a little different of what a lot of the other firms, but I would still put out searches on all the websites too. I would still do the full screen. I have the staff recruiters waiting, ready to go if you're interested in that. One last thing, I'm sure I'm at my 3 minutes, I'm sorry. But I've always worked on contingency and I've always worked on a percentage. So for 30 years, I've been charging the same fee. It's a percentage of what the person earns. And because I know Harbor Springs doesn't have the budget that my corporate 50 companies have, I did put another retainer in there, which is essentially about a 50% of what the fee would be. So it's about a 50% discount. Considering if it was a $200,000 person, I just used that as an estimate, the fee would be 30%. And then so I put a retainer in for 30, which is half price. And that was just because I like Harbor Springs. And I've never done that before, and I hope none of my clients see this.
All right, thank you.
Okay, if you have any questions, I'll be here. Anybody?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we'll go through all that.
Okay.
And on Zoom here is Mitch. Mitch Foster.
Trying
There
to
you go.
slowly get that to work. Absolutely. Well,
Thank you.
I appreciate, can you hear me all just to make sure?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm Mitch Foster. I represent Double Hull Solutions. We are the firm that was referenced as 2021, but our firm has folks that have been in the profession and are currently in the profession for the last 25, 30 years. Combined, we have a team that has over 125 years or so of local government experience. Just recently, we've completed searches for the city of Hart, which, similar to Harbor Springs, has its own electric utility, which obviously comes with it some fun other things, as you were talking about during the budget process. We've also completed the village of Pentwater, the city of Ludington, and Saline Township as well. For me personally, I asked our CEO, Nate Geinzer, if we could put in for this because my sister, during her undergraduate, spent 3 years up at Little Harbor Club. So I spent a number of time, quite a bit of time up in Harbor Springs, and her in-laws still live in Petoskey, so I still get to spend some time up that way. I just want to note that, while we may be a new firm, we've got good experience, good background, people that are very passionate about local government and trying to find the best solution for communities. It's not our job to tell you who or what to hire, what background. It's our job to find out what you all in the room, what your community is looking for out of a person to sit in that seat, to follow Victor, and to try to help lead the community forward under your guidance. So I'm here for questions if there are any, but I just appreciate the time for a few minutes here.
Any questions for Mitch?
No, it's time.
Thank you.
Move on to Amy. Amy, if you could unmute yourself. There you go.
Great. Good evening. I'd love to just share a few words about our approach and a little bit of our background. So I founded my firm 10 years ago as Amy Sell Talent, and we were recently acquired by Yo and Yo. So even though it says we were established in 2025, we've been doing municipal work for about 7 years. We recently completed the village of Elk Rapids and the city, Traverse City. So we're very familiar with the region, and I have a staff member that lives in Boyne City. Our approach is to listen carefully at the beginning of the planning process, to do a lot of stakeholder engagement, to put together a rubric that's customized to what would be best for your community. We make sure everybody's on the same page by aligning everyone at a council meeting. Then we source. So we, as was mentioned, there's a lot of job boards are great, but I also have a large team of recruiters. We have 4 recruiter licenses on LinkedIn and use that as an effective tool to go after candidates, which is what we've done for all of our searches. We put together very good candidate pools, usually targeting to present 7 to 10 highly qualified and interested candidates. And we thoroughly assess the candidates as well through video interview, phone interview, cyber review, reference checks, and background checks, which we do before we present the candidates. So you get a very deep assessment and profile of all the candidates. And then we facilitate a very good process for yourself, the community, and the candidates. And so I guess what sets us apart a little bit is we have a very flexible pricing and service structure. We have a large team of professional recruiters. We have worked in government. I've worked in state government. I was the acting city manager as well, but we are truly HR people that love finding that right fit. We have a strong up north presence and some successful local searches. So we're familiar with the candidate pool and just very honored to be here among many wonderful firms. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll move on to Ian. Ian, I'll ask you to unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So Ian Coyle, my firm is Pracademic Partners. Pracademic is a little bit of a play on words, practitioner and academic. In addition to a 20+ year career in local government administration, I also have spent about 18 years now teaching city and county managers and town managers how to be better city and county and town managers. So I've taught in various programs across the country. I founded my firm in 2018. I went full time with it in 2024. We are a national firm, so I'm based in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes area of Western New York. But I have a vice president that's in New England. I have another office in Florida, and we have done at this point in time about 50 executive searches in the local government public administration space across 14 states now. I will tell you, every time I've gone to a state with our firm and our work where we haven't been, we have done a successful search in that state. That includes Ohio, that includes Virginia, that includes Pennsylvania. So I would also note that we did provide references, happy to provide other references as well. We gave you a very exhaustive list of our clients, both coaching, management consulting, and executive search work. I will tell you that every single client that we've worked for is willing to be a positive reference for our services. And I'm very proud of that. We're an expanding firm. We're probably the fastest growing executive search focused firm on the East Coast. Again, we do work nationally though. I'm familiar with many of these names, as Amy just said as well. A lot of reputable firms in front of you. A lot of Michigan focused firms in front of you as well. I think if you're desirous of a true national reach, very nimble, curated service, individually crafted for what you desire, I think we're a great solution and would welcome the opportunity to work with the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Move on to James Petrino. You gotta unmute yourself there.
Yep. Thank you very much. I'm just going to build on what Ian just said. You've got a great group of firms to choose from. I think any of the firms that you choose, particularly those that have extensive experience in city management, can get you a great candidate list. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with them this evening. Just a couple of things to highlight out about my proposal. I'll be quite brief. I spent 17 years as a city manager. All of those years were in smaller municipalities like yours, including several years managing a city with an electric service in the state of Pennsylvania. So having that unique experience, 17 years as a manager and now 10 years of owning my own search firm, where we've done over 50 searches for positions here in the state of Michigan. And I only focus on the state of Michigan, really drill into our communities here. Obviously, I provided many references, and you can contact beyond the references to the folks that I just listed as past clients. Really bringing not only the municipal experience, the consulting experience, But I hope to bring just a facilitation to you and your process that is very focused to what you need as a public body in your next manager. And I think that's where I hope to set myself apart is really in facilitating your needs. So thank you very much for the opportunity to bid on this.
Thank you, James. And next will be Frank Walsh. If you could unmute yourself. Frank, are you there?
Yeah, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Frank Walsh with Walsh Municipal Services. We have been recruiting in Michigan since 1997. I've been a Michigan city manager, county manager for the past 33 years. We have a strong relationship throughout the state of Michigan. We recently did a recruitment for Charlevoix. We specialize in waterfront communities. We've done work in Alpena and Saugatuck and Douglas and Grand Haven and Marquette and Sutton's Bay. So we have a special focus on waterfront communities. We've done over 100 recruitments in Michigan. I won't even get into our process because you have great firms in front of you and I don't want to take up any more of your time tonight, but thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Frank. Anybody else? So you can develop a process of how you want to nominate or provide me three to do the reference checks on. You want to each take a vote of 1, 2, or 3, your choice. I could tally up the votes and see who scores.
What's easiest?
Whatever you want. Do you have a consensus decision?
Has everyone narrowed it down a little bit? I don't know how many everyone's at.
I will be doing this in the next agenda section with the boards and commissions, so
Yeah.
top 3, each pick your top 3.
That's what I tried to narrow it to 3, but I didn't quite get there.
I think I'm at 4.
The 4 will be fine. I can do 4.
Do you want to go first?
Want me to just name them?
Yeah.
One, my first choice is the MML, Michigan Municipal League. They specialize in Michigan, that's all they do. My second choice was MML was my first choice. My second choice was WMS, and my third choice was Vetriano.
Which one?
Vetriano.
Oh, okay.
I also have those 3, but I also have DHS.
DHS is that your 4th?
Yeah.
All right. Mayor?
So hard to tell without knowing more information. We haven't read all this, but most of it.
We'll go to Kathy.
Okay, I had MML, I don't have these ranked in any
Okay.
particular
Sounds like
order.
we're gonna.
MML, WMS, and CBNA. And the close after that were Vetrino, and then DHS is probably my 5th.
I had Vetriano, CBNA, and Double Hull Solutions.
All right, Mayor, we're back to you.
I'll try Vetriano as my first choice. MML second. DHS third.
So it looks like DHS has 3, MML has 3. So DHS has 4, so there'll be 1. Veteriano has 4 as well. And MML has 3.
That's the only one that has 3.
Yeah, the rest have 2.
DHS has 3 as well. 4. Oh, that's right, good.
CBA has 2, and then the WMS has 1. So yeah, these 3.
WMS only have 1?
They have 2.
2, sorry, 2.
Would you be good with DHS, Veteriano, and MML?
Top 3.
That's the top 3. And I'll throw a 4th if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, which ones were they again? MML?
Veteriano and DHS. But I want to make sure you guys are good with that.
Did you two look? What were your thoughts?
Probably not gonna make a recommendation here. I should, no, I just would not be appropriate.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
okay with those 3. If you wanted to talk more about the other 2, just to see, the other 2 were WMS and CBNA. If there's a strong reason why anyone.
I put CBA 8th because they only have 2 Michigan clients and they're based in Florida. They have 250 Florida clients.
I like WMS, I guess because I saw that they have done work recently with Charlevoix and Alpena. So the region.
They can add them. Don't bear in mind, I'm gonna call the references and they're all gonna probably say the same thing. We're sort of gonna be back here again.
Sure.
Can you maybe like deep dive a little bit more on the fee? Because I know that some of them have a lot of stipulations versus others are like a set fee and have guarantees, like if we don't find somebody or they'll continue for a year or whatever, like there's some guarantees in there for some of the firms. And I think just having all of that laid out might help.
Okay. And probably we've looked at the December next week's, looks pretty heavy, correct? Would you want this, to do this by next week or the January 5th?
Next week.
Next
Okay.
week.
Good.
Sorry.
Next
Oh,
week. Oops, just sorry. Wait a minute.
Any other things why calling the references or the companies that you want me to ask?
I mean, no, the good thing about having a top 4 or 3, whatever we did, is then we can focus in on the details of the proposals. There was so much detail in all of these that it was, it wasn't like I could, it wasn't an easy comparison. You know.
So my recommendation would be is take this information and do a deep dive into the 4 that you have.
Okay.
Because they're gonna send us the same packets. I'll do the reference checks.
Sure.
And I'll get that information. I'll check into the fees, but this is their proposal. And
Oh,
so,
sure, it's
so
not gonna
my
change.
would be to eliminate the other 5.
Yeah.
Do a deep dive into these 4 and go from there.
Yeah.
And I'll come back with the fees and I'll come back with references.
Thank you.
Are you all set?
With the 4th one was Walsh.
WMS.
Yeah.
WMS, thank you.
Thank you.
And I know, are we all set with that?
Yeah.
And I know last week we talked about, we're gonna do the schedule, that's next week, correct?
Yes.
And we talked about the 6 o'clock time in the winter. is there any consensus on that? Have you guys thought about it? Just because if we make that schedule, it's easier to have it typed in now, but you don't have to make a decision, but it would be more presentable. And doesn't matter to me. I'm just saying for the ease of getting out at 9:30 compared to 8:30. But it's your guys' choice.
I'm okay with 6 in the winter, but I would prefer 7 in the summer.
That, well, my proposal was, no, I don't know if you're my
Yeah,
proposal.
no,
It was November to April.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
So, yeah, I just want to put some hard dates on that, so we're clear.
That extra
What's
hour of my day
winter?
off is really awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't care. I'm just throwing, I know what the school did and it's been very, and then other municipalities that I know have moved them up. And actually where he's going, I think it's like, he said 1:30. But I think 6 would be good from the, what, say, that's when we do most of the work, right? But 6 PM, November to April, and then the other 6 months would be a 7 o'clock start.
That's fine.
But
Is everybody was reading?
Oh, yes, yes.
Just make sure.
That's perfect.
Yes,
I'm
boss.
You're.
Yes. Well, any chance, or you're gonna say it's too late to change next week to 6 o'clock?
It's too late.
I would say it's too late.
I would too. We already have that, yes.
I mean, you could, but I mean, it's been noticed. But you could.
Yeah.
If you want.
I know.
It's one more
One
meeting.
more.
This question to the board, anybody here? Careful, you're an old person, a young person, a male or female, or blah, blah, blah.
So I don't think you should go down that direction. You'll get the best qualified candidate. Yeah.
Will bring us a lot of candidates. Whatever firm, they'll provide us some people to interview. And we'll take that road at that time.
Different way of phrasing that is, do you want experience or inexperience? So just be careful how you phrase these things. In the public meeting. All right,
Any other questions?
Are you done?
No.
yeah, we go on to item. Yes, so this process for appointing residents to boards and commissions, we're doing that next week. Last week, council wanted to know, brought up the question of how do we go about doing this, right? There's 3 boards that the mayor makes the appointment, but the council has to confirm or approve that mayor's appointment. And there's 4 boards where the council, any council member can make a nomination, and then the whole council has to approve it. So previous years, it's sometimes we've gone through individual candidate by individual candidate, making a motion for each individual candidate, and that was found to be, could be inefficient. Or other years we've done what we just did here for the search firm is council members for each board pick their top candidates, and then if seems to be some similarities between you, then by chance you can just pick that candidate. So
I just have one, can you tell us right now how many openings there are on each of the boards?
Off my memory, I think there's 4 on the planning commission.
3.
3 on the planning commission, 4 on the harbor commission. 2 on park.
3.
3 on parks. I'm just, 2 on the ZBA, I think.
2 on which?
ZBA.
ZBA or DDA?
ZBA. DDA, there's
1.
1, right? 1.
Okay, 1 on DDA, 2 on ZBA, got it.
Board of review has 2. Board of review has 2. Tree board, I don't know,
Okay,
but there is at least 1 opening in the tree board.
okay.
So again, my recommendation would be just to do what we just did basically with the search firm. I mean, of course, we have to keep in mind that, for the planning commission, park board and downtown development, that power rests in the mayor to make an appointment. So he's the one who will appoint someone in council to confirm that appointment. If you want to, he can take your guys's, feedback and go through this whole process as well and say, hey, let's go through this list of make your top 3, but ultimately, he's the only one can nominate and make a motion to appoint for those boards.
But those boards require council.
Right, you have to vote on it, yeah. So it might make sense
Okay.
to go through that, who's your top 3, so he knows not to make a motion to appoint someone that you guys aren't gonna
Right.
appoint, so.
I think we've seen that going through and naming our top choices, especially when there's a lot of applicants, like Harbor Commission always has a lot of applicants. If we went through and named our top 4, since there's 4 openings, I think that that's how it's been most efficient, or otherwise we just sit here and stare at each other and nobody says anything. So that would be my thought process as well.
Jeannie?
Ugh, and it's up, we do the homework ahead of time as far as calling and asking questions. Do they have an opportunity to speak that?
Yeah. They have the opportunity to speak here. You can contact them ahead of time. You'll get their applications once you get the packet out next Thursday. But I did so far give you guys a list of who's applied so far. That list may change, you know, people may come. But yes, you can do as much homework as you want. It's one of those areas where as city staff, we don't give any recommendation. This is a policy decision on the revenue board. So we just make sure that they completed their form correctly and they meet all eligibility to serve on boards and commissions.
Do you need anything from us? Is
If this, you guys are okay with this process, just.
that okay
So
with
you
you?
guys know.
Name your top 3 or 4?
How you've always done it, right?
We've done it differently, but this way it tends to be most efficient, so.
Yeah, I think it worked out well tonight.
Maybe good, but I'll give their top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
We implemented, when was that? We did that not too long ago where we implemented it. It seemed to work well.
We did it when we picked the replacement city council member.
Yes, with Mr. Booker.
Yeah, otherwise we were just gonna sit here all day.
Say,
We like each other. We'll stay here all night.
All right, that's all we have.
Were we going to talk about Kyle and how he's
Next meeting.
next meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Let's talk about.
Let's talk about that.
Sure. Go ahead.
excuse me.
Your city manager's report?
Oh, not this week, no. Yeah. I'll do it for next Monday. We normally don't do this Mondays.
So if we're in new business,
Yeah.
I have an off the wall thought that I just want to float by council.
Can you turn your mic on?
Thank you. I have an off the wall thought that I just want to throw out there in front of council. If we were to invite the tree board and the Parks and Rec board to become a club instead of working as a board underneath the city council, there is a number of pluses to them for that to happen. And first of all, we don't appoint them. They have the freedom of inviting anyone into their club that they wish, just like the garden club. There's no membership amount limits as we currently run them, where the tree board gets 5 members and one of them is a city council person. And I think Parks and Rec has 7 and one of them is a city council person. There's no term limits. You can be a member of this club for as long as you want. You can charge dues or not. You can do minutes or not, post the minutes or not. You can elect officers or not. You also, the big plus that I see to this is you don't have to worry about the Open Meetings Act. You could ask for a liaison with city council and invite that person. You're not assigned a person. I can see this, you can hold regular meetings or not. You can have it open to the public or not. We could start a tab on the city's website for clubs where you could post your minutes or post anything that you want to work on. They have to come to us to ask us for money, whether they're a board or whether they're going to operate as a club anyway. So it's all pluses for them. There's no minuses. So I'm just throwing this out there as a possibility.
Do you want to add that to the future agenda discussion?
I need to think about it more personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's implications. And I'm not even sure what they are.
Yeah, we do have, in the city code, the parks board is in the city code and.
Yeah.
Et cetera, but. There's implications on what the club, how it interact with the city, so there'd be a lot of research to go into that, but if you want. We can't discuss it now, so if you wanted to put it be another agenda, we can do it. Oh, Kyle.
Can we revisit next week after we're able to think about it? And we can talk at new and old business again?
Sure.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
You want it as an agenda item or just as new?
No, we'll let you know next time,
That sounds
after we
great.
all think about it a little bit more.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, that's all we have for us, for you.
Anybody else have anything? They'd like to say? No.
Okay.
We're good.
Thank you.